Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Gabby and today we're going to be talking about the 26 books that I will definitely be reading in 2026. We're going to be doing this video a little bit differently than every other sort of 26 books for 2026 video you've probably seen. Everyone that I've seen has included all new releases that come out this year, or majority of, but personally I'm trying to downsize my collection by a lot and really get through books that have been on my TBR for a long time. So to do that, we are going to be choosing books strictly off of my physical TBR or my KU membership because I pay, way too much monthly to be neglecting that, and I really want to get through some of the books on my physical TBR. We have mostly romance and fantasy books. Some of these are completely new to my TBR. Some of these have been on there for a long time. So let's just get into it. I think we're going to start with the books that are on Kindle Unlimited first, just to get those out of the way. And another thing that we're doing a little bit differently is that when I say a book I want to read, I mean the entire series. I want to get through it. I want to finish so many series that I've started, and that is definitely another thing that we're going to be doing probably either this month or next. We'll be going through all of the series that I've started or own and have not started, and tracking them all down, putting them all on a list, seeing where we're at, and hopefully getting through that list is the goal. So our first book that we'll be talking about is Metal Slinger, and this is available on Kindle Unlimited. So this is a fantasy book about a girl who is a soldier and she gets exiled and she has to live at sea, is how I understand it. It's going to be a larger series, but currently only the first book is out right now, and I've heard about this book non-stop. Everyone I know who reads fantasy is reading this book. I've seen it all over my book talk, all over YouTube. I believe it's a slow burn romance with some forced proximity, and that's about all I really know. Honestly, I like to go into most of my books pretty blind, but this one sounds really, really good, and I've seen based off of other reads that certain people are recommending it, and I align with a lot of those other books that are like kind of similar themes. I'm really, really looking forward to picking this one up, and hopefully I think the second book comes out in, July. I can get it done before then would be the goal, but that is book number one that we are going to be hoping to read in 2026. The next book I want to be reading this year is The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and this is the Crown of Nyaxia series. I've heard nonstop good things about this book for a very long time, and I want to get the whole series done and completed, as long as I like the first one, obviously. And I've never read a Carissa Broadbent book, but I've heard her work is just really, really amazing, and I figured this is probably the best one to start with and the one that kind of intrigues me the most. Again, I don't really know much about this, but it's fantasy romance, and I believe there's vampires involved. She, I think, kind of goes into their magical world, and she's a human. It's a little bit enemies to lovers, it's a little bit dark, and I believe there are trials in this book, which, if you know me, that is something that can totally just make a book a million times better for me. But if we remember, there's one book I have in mind that absolutely did it zero justice. So it could go one way or the other, but again, I've heard nothing but positive reviews about these books from some of my favorite booktubers especially, and about Carissa Broadbent in general, so I cannot wait to pick this series up in 2026. The third book that I'm hoping to pick up off of Kindle Unlimited in 2026 is Mile High by Liz Tomford. This is part of the Windy City series, and this is like the top sports romance series that I hear about actually all of the time. I love to watch hockey, and I'm pretty sure the first one is about a hockey player and a flight attendant. And I think in the other books, it's different sports. I think there's baseball, maybe, going on. I don't really know, but I don't know. I've heard very mixed reviews about the first book specifically, but I've heard as it goes on, the writing in the series just gets better and better. I'm so excited to start picking up more hockey romances because it's been a minute since I've read one, and I really love them, and I love watching hockey too. And if I'm correct, I believe the Windy City series just finished. She just wrote the last book this last year. So it's all completed. I want to read the whole series. I'm tired of being out of the loop on this one because I have really been on a romance kick lately, and this is definitely one that will be picked up soon. The FOMO is just too real on this one, especially for the later books. And who doesn't love a good hockey romance? So this next series is kind of confusing. It's more so I'm focused on the author. I really want to read the author's works, and I'm not too picky about what I read. We have Reign of Shadow and Endings, which is a part of the Legacy series. And this author does have another work of series that she had published before. And if I'm right, They're kind of interconnected, but the author did say you can definitely read the Legacy series first and not have your reading really majorly impacted at all. So that's what I think I'm going to do, because Reign of Shadow and Endings just sounds way more appealing to me than the first series, truthfully. But if I really love her work, of course, I will go on and read her other series. It's a dark romance, and there's fae, there's fated mates, there's dragons. Need I say more? I believe the female main character is kind of like a mistress of sorts for the heir to the throne. So she gets kind of thrown into this hierarchy system, even though she wasn't really born into it. And I believe it is a little bit spicy, obviously, given her role in the kingdom and to the new heir. But I've heard it's so good, and I want to read it so bad. I don't know, it just sounds so intriguing. I'm really into the more kind of dark fantasy this year, I think. The next book that we have is the Prison Healer series. This is a YA dark fantasy, and this is another one that I don't think I've ever seen a bad review for at all. So the main character works as a healer in a prison, and she helps, I guess the queen was kind of sort of exiled into the prison or something, and she ends up helping the queen through her trials. And as I said previously, a good trials like always gets me going, you know what I mean? It's just so fun, it's so exciting. That's why Hunger Games has been like just one of the best series for me. Anyways, this is a YA trilogy, and I'm very intrigued, even though I don't really know that much about it. Again, I've never seen a bad review. This is definitely one on the top of my list that I've been meaning to pick up for a little while now. The last Kindle Unlimited book that I am hoping to get to this year is City of Gods and Monsters. Now, this is an urban fantasy, and it is a multi-book series. I honestly don't even think the other books are out yet. No, maybe they are. Oh my gosh, I could be totally wrong. But maybe the first book is getting republished with a traditional publisher. I think maybe that's what it is. So again, fantasy, urban romance, and our female main character's best friend is like abducted and taken into this fantasy world. And all of this is very new to her. She meets like vampires, witches, all sorts of creatures. And she's human, so she's like right down at the bottom. They literally do not care about her. While she is in this other world looking for her kidnapped friend, I believe there's a sort of bodyguard trope that happens, and that's where we get our romance in. I know it's also a slow burn, and I'm hoping it is similar to City of Ashes, which I read last month, I think. You know, looking for the same sort of vibes with that, and that's another one that I'm really excited to pick up. I think I got that recommendation from Madison Kate, I think, was who read it, and I was like, this sounds so good, I need to pick it up. So that's another larger fantasy book, but that's all we have for our Kindle Unlimited hopefuls for the upcoming year. The 7th book that I will definitely be reading in 2026 is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I don't have a physical copy of this, but I bought the Kindle version a few months ago for I think like $1. It was on sale, and I have heard nonstop good things about this book. It's more of a fiction, and I know it's about a town where hockey is really their everything. It's their center of life, and it's what most of the town focuses on, even though it's these high school hockey players. I've heard that something truly just tragic happens in this book, and I eat that right up. I definitely want to work some more fiction into my reads this year. I think it would be great. So this is a 3-book series. I don't know if I've read a Fredrik Backman book before, but it's been on my want to read list for some time now. And then once I got it on Kindle, I was like, I really need to utilize this. You know, I paid for it. And again, I got this book from, I think Sarah Caroli was the one who really inspired me to finally pick it up in this new year, because she just loves it so much and raves about it all the time. So this is the year that I will be doing that. Okay, now we can talk about the books on my physical TBR that I am really prioritizing reading this year. And again, many of these are series. So it's not really 26 books, but kind of. I feel like one book is kind of the equivalent of like one series in a way, if you know what I mean. I want to read all of them, obviously. That's the goal of buying a book. Regardless, let's get into it. I think we should start strong. The first book that I have on my physical TBR is Little Woman. I have yet to read this, and it's actually the only classic that I picked out for this video. Reading classics is just so hard for me. It really is. And I know that sounds kind of dumb, but sometimes just the way that they're written When I get home from work and I'm wanting to read my book and really get lost, I want something that's kind of easily digestible, if that makes sense. I don't want to be sitting here trying to like decipher and find all these underlying themes. That can be totally fun, but I also need to be in the mood to do that. So that's why I only chose one classic. I know everybody and their mother has read this. I think some people even might have read it in high school, maybe. But I think in terms of classics, this is a bit of an easier one to read through and kind of get lost in a sense. And it's also very emotional. It's very woman-centered, and that is right up my alley. We follow four sisters with very different personalities as they grow up in their vital years during the Civil War, and just how they work together as a family and as sisters, and their own takes on personal situations. I know there's some romance and sort of angst, I believe, taking on different family responsibilities and that sort of thing. So I cannot wait to get to this. Again, my only classic, but no time like the present, so I cannot wait to pick this one up. Next we have From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I have been pushing this one off for so long because I feel like I have such high hopes for it, if that kind of makes sense in a backwards way. I was so excited to pick this up when I first got it, and then I was like, what if I hate it? You know what I mean? I have such this hype built for it, my own personal hype, not even really from other people, but my own sort of hype and expectations, that I just don't want to be let down. But the excitement is getting to me. I really want to pick it up. I believe it's two figure skaters romance. She is trying to compete in figure skating, and he offers her something in some sort of way, and they obviously end up falling in love. You already know it's going to be such a good slow burn coming from Mariana Zapata. This is going to be such a good one, and I really want to pick it up this year and finally just get it checked off my list. Whether I love it, whether I don't, the anticipation is getting to me at this point. Next we have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I have said this before, but I've actually never read a Brandon Sanderson book, and I am really kind of like, it feels daunting to pick one up. This is the first in the series I do want to read. I can't remember if this one's the trilogy. He has a few books I think that overlap, but this is definitely one that I want to pick up because it's the most of his work that I've seen talked about and like brought up so many times. It has so many raving reviews, and I really want to see what his work is like and explore him as an author. So this is a fantasy, and I think our main character lives on the street and is trying to form a sort of uprising, but I don't really know. The back is kind of vague. It says must learn to master the power of a Mistborn. So I don't even know what a Mistborn is, unless I don't really know. But I love a good fantasy with a nice rebellion. I can get behind that, you know what I'm saying? Again, very excited to see what his writing style is like and his fantasy build up, because I've heard so many good things about every book he has written, quite literally. And I feel like at this point he's just a top fantasy author, so I'm kind of getting FOMO, I can't lie. I want to see what all the hype is about. Our next book is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have read two books by R.F. Kuang. One was Yellowface, which was a fiction book, and the other was Catabasis, which I read earlier this year, and I loved both of them. I love her writing style, and this is a fiction book where our main character is adopted from China, and his father figure / professor forces him to pursue Oxford and his education there. It takes place in 1828, so our main character really struggles with whether he should defend his homeland of China or be more on the London side for imperialism now that he's a Londoner and goes to Oxford. I believe there's also some magical elements involved, but I'm not sure exactly how, and I cannot wait to pick this one up. I mean, the cover is just beautiful, first of all. R.F. Kuang did spend some time at Oxford, so Catabasis had very similar themes in the academic realm, and I have a feeling I'm really going to enjoy this book because I love that one so much, so I cannot wait to pick it up and see what sort of fantasy elements are ingrained into the story. Next, we have the Abby Jimenez backlist. So this isn't a specific book, but Part of Your World is available on Kindle Unlimited, and I believe that's the first book in a series with these two. And then even though these ones have extremely similar sort of covers, I think this is going to end up being a separate series. But the reason I've been putting this one off is because it's technically the second book in the series of standalones, and I want to read Part of Your World first. and I started this when it first came out and I was absolutely loving it, and then I just had so much going on I never ended up finishing it. So I would love to read all 4 because from what I have read, I really like her writing and I'm excited to pick these up. These are all romance books. The one that I've heard the most about is Just for the Summer, but again, I believe this is the 3rd book in the interconnected standalones, so I just have not been able to push myself to pick them up because I know they're not the first ones. Let's just do it and get it over with. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Girl, just pick it up. You know what I'm saying? I want to get the first one done and then we'll get to these ones all this year. Next we have Keeping 13. I read Binding 13 in September and I absolutely adored it. I want to read the rest of the books and these are chunky, but I know that the series just keeps getting better and better. I know it does. So I'm looking forward to this book so much, as well as the other books in the series. I know the rest are available on Kindle Unlimited, but I love these Barnes & Noble editions where it has the reflective cover and then the edges. The series is Boys of Tommen, and it takes place in a high school in like 2005 in Ireland. There are a lot of trigger warnings for this series in general across the board. Definitely look into them before you pick them up, but the romance is just so good. The characters are so good. You get so emotionally attached. I could go on and on and on. So this is definitely this book, especially following Johnny and Shannon, that I want to get accomplished this year. Are we on book 9 right now? I'm getting a little lost in my counting here. Our next book is the Twilight series. I have never picked these books up. Now these are YA. We all know what Twilight is about. Do I even really have to say it? I've been saying that I'm going to read these books when I get these editions, these gorgeous white editions with the reflective lettering, but I don't really buy books by a whole series anymore that I haven't read, but I just can't get over these covers. Jordan, love of my life, so graciously bought me the whole box set for Christmas. He said, finally, you can have it on your bookshelf. They're gonna look so good. And they do. Let's look at some of these covers. So this is the cover for Twilight. I love the simplicity. I love just the white. It looks so good with the red. We have New Moon. We have Eclipse. We have Breaking Dawn. And then we have Midnight Sun, which was released much later than the other books. And this is the story told from Edward's point of view, I believe. We also have The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, and this is a little novella. But I mean, come on. Like, these just look so pretty together. I can't get over it. I cannot believe he bought them for me, so thank you so much. Shout out to Jordan. This is likely either one that I'll start very early on in the winter, or I'm gonna wait till the end of the summer to start picking them up and get into the fall vibes. The next book I'm really looking forward to this year is The Will of the Many. Now, I saw Sarah Caroli read this and I'd actually never heard of it, and the way she talked about it, I went and looked at all the reviews and everyone was raving about it. So this is a fantasy book. There's a sort of hierarchy where everybody at the top basically takes the will of those at the bottom, all their power, all their focus, all their energy, and because they're powerful, they get to keep it for themselves. So we follow a character who is in school and has become orphaned, and he's now training to become part of the society where that takes place. However, I believe there's a bit of a rebellion brewing and our main character somehow gets involved. I'm very excited. Even though this is a literal brick, this sounds so good. I feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of having a theme going for fantasies right now. Obviously, most fantasies do include a rebellion, but those where you're out of school and you're secretly rebellious the whole time, it's giving An Ember in the Ashes, which I really enjoyed, and I actually, not part of this video at all, random side tangent, I did just pick up A Torch Against the Night during the Barnes & Noble sale this weekend, so, you know, this book is giving this sort of vibes, except in this one, his strength is being leached out by those more powerful than him. That sounds crazy. It just sounds crazy to wrap your head around, and I'm trying to get more, I love a good romantasy, but I want to read some more genuine fantasies this year as well, where there's no real plot of romance, so I'm hoping I can find that in this book. Next, we have Quicksilver along with Brimstone, which just came out. This book just like has my heart. I read 55% into Quicksilver and it was so good and I was so busy with life at the time that I just ended up putting it down. because there's so much investment into what's going on, and obviously this is a pretty hefty book. I believe I was graduating college, so I was like right during finals, and I was also going to Disney. So there was a lot going on at the time. But we follow Cyrus, who ends up being able to wield Quicksilver. And without even knowing that Fae exists, she gets swept into this Fae world where they want to train her to become an alchemist, because they're like, if you wielded the Quicksilver, you must be an alchemist. And she's like, guys, I just want to go home. Like, literally just bring me home. I need to get back to my brother. She's from the poorest of the poor in this sector. This queen has taken over. She's immortal now, but now she's becoming part of this rebellion where the Fae will hopefully be able to lead and win a war against the humans, but it's also conflicting because she is a human. And by her side is Kingfisher, the male main character, and he's just everything a girl could ask for, truly. Like, you know, he's kind of has some rebellion against the Fae that they want to get back at him for. There's a lot going on. So this is one that I'm just so excited to pick up again, and then obviously get into the second one, which has this gorgeous edition. If you're ever like keeping tabs on my reading socials, my Goodreads and my Fable are always linked below. I actually did start this one just about 2 days ago, and I'm 20% in. I'm loving it, just as I did the first time, of course. So these are like high up on the priority list, you know what I'm saying? Next we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Now this is a cozy fantasy book, and I don't think I've ever read a cozy fantasy book. When you look at my books that I've already read and the books that I'm looking to read, I clearly like a lot of action. I like a lot going on. I like a good rebellion, you know. So I don't know if this is really going to be up my street. I don't know if I will be pursuing the whole series, but I've heard nonstop good things about it. The cover is so cute. I'm pretty sure we follow Emily Wilde, and she's literally creating an encyclopedia of fairies as part of her PhD project. I think there's a little bit of a romance that goes on. There's no real high stakes or anything, and it's a relatively short book. I just really need this extra push to get myself into this genre and see whether I enjoy it or not. And I feel like this is going to be a good one that, like, on a snowy night when I can just cuddle up in bed with a little mug of tea and like my face mask on and a candle lit and some ambiance, and read about this girl and her fairies. You know what I'm saying? And her little romance going on in the background. That does sound so cozy and cute to me. I just don't know if I'm going to end up enjoying it or not. But again, we need this final push to get it done for the year, whether I read it, whether I unhaul it. It is what it is. Next we have Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Now, I have no idea what this book is about, like actually none. I just know it's a Devney Perry book and it's a fantasy. So she is a princess, I think, and a monster hunter basically comes to her kingdom, and she is set into an arranged marriage with him, and then she finds out about all these monsters, or I don't know if she already knows about the monsters or not, that were like unleashed on humans in order to torture them, I guess. I don't know. I don't even have to know. I don't really care. I love Devney Perry, so I will read it. And I actually have seen great reviews about this book specifically, so I'm really, really excited to pick it up. This sounds like, I'm saying this sounds like, I don't even know what it's about. Like, girl, be so serious. I'm fairly sure there's a very strong female main character, and that's all I need to know. And again, like, Devney Perry, like, need I say more? She's so good. I love her work. This next one's a doozy. We have Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu. We already know how I feel about this book. The anticipation is so, so real. I cannot wait. It's just so daunting to pick up, truthfully, when you're staring at 1,000 pages. But once you get into it, you're into it. You know what I mean? So this is a fantasy book where our main character was previously a healer for her society that was essentially trying to take over the evil side. The evil side won. And now they're trying to force her memories out of her brain and see how she really contributed, because her files are basically lost. There's a lot more than just that sort of brief synopsis, but it's very, very hefty. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this book as well, but the emotional devastation is so real. So I want to get this onto my completed shelf this year, definitely. I've been so hyped for the release. I've been so hyped since it came out, and it's just daunting. It's a lot to sit there and read. You know what? If it's on the list, I gotta do it. You know what I mean? So our next book is The Jasad Heir, and this is a fantasy duology with Egyptian inspiration. Our female main character was the heir to the throne and her kingdom was burned. So she goes into hiding. She becomes a rebel and sort of a leader, kind of, I think. Regardless, she gets captured and her job becomes to hunt down the other rebels in exchange for her life. However, the whole time she's very concerned that they're going to find out who she is because she knows that if they know that she is the heir to the Jasad throne, they will kill her. I want to say there's a little bit of romance in this, but I'm not positive. But I've seen so many positive reviews. Even still, I'm hearing good things about this book and this duology in general. I believe there are fantasy elements in the sense that her kingdom had magic and now it's outlawed, but obviously she still harbors those powers. So it's going to be a very, very interesting read. Next we have Direbound. Now come on, this cover is so gorgeous. This is another fantasy book and the second one comes out in July, I believe. Our female main character is very poor and living out on the streets. She ends up joining the army and faces some trials. Are we sensing a theme here? She ends up having to bond to a direwolf. I don't really know what that means, but I mean, it's fantasy, so it can literally mean anything. I believe it is a romantasy, so we do have that romance element in there. I just don't really know how. This is available on Kindle Unlimited, but I have been anticipating it so highly, and I feel like I tend to get to my physical books first. I prioritize them more, so I did pick it up during the Barnes & Noble sale with my Barnes & Noble gift cards from Christmas. I've heard mixed reviews about this one, but most of the people that have similar book tastes to me seem to really enjoy it, so we'll see what I think, and I just think it's so pretty. I can't get over it. Okay, we are on our final 5 for our list of priority books for 2026. Our next book is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is the only contemporary romance of hers that I haven't read yet. I read every other one, and if you saw one of my recent videos, I did not like Great Big Beautiful Life, but this one has a literal cult following, so I'm very intrigued to find out why. It's just never really picked up my attention, and it's been on my shelf for far too long. In the book, we follow 2 writers who happen to be on vacation together in close quarters, I believe, and she is a romance writer, he's a literary fiction writer, and they take this time to kind of get out of their writing slump and challenge each other to write a book of each other's genre, so they kind of flip, and they end up falling in love. I do love Emily Henry's writing. I love how emotional and sort of woman-centered her books are, so I don't know, I have very mixed emotions on this because it's been so long that I haven't been able to get myself to pick it up yet, but we'll see if I enjoy it. I do have kind of high hopes though. Next, we have Crescent City. These are hefty. I finally finished ACOTAR, I think I want to say at the very end of 2024. Since then, I have started my Throne of Glass reread, which is obviously still a priority. It's just not priority enough to make this list. I want to get into these. I hear such mixed reviews about these. I hear great things about the first one, mixed about the second, and a lot of negative about the third. But I love Sarah J. Maas's writing. Personally, her fantasy is just so descriptive and her storylines are so good. Now, ACOTAR is not like the greatest thing ever for me, but I would say Throne of Glass is. So that's why this is such a priority. I don't even really know what happens. I know it's an urban fantasy, and I think there's some connections to ACOTAR, which is why I read that first. But I really want to get these ones done. I would feel so accomplished to finally have read everything by Sarah J. Maas. Next, we have the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I read the first one, I think, in 2022. It could have been 2023, but I think it was 2022. And I really enjoyed it. And I actually had a viral Instagram reel based off that book. Had like 1 million views. Not to brag, but anyways, I never read the rest of the series. I don't even know why. These are hockey romances. They take place in college, and we're following all these different love stories among the players and their significant others. They're kind of spicy. The first one was so good, and these men are just so attractive for some reason. It's just like, what did they put in the water over there? I know they're fictional, but like, come on. I figure that 2026 is finally the year that I either read these or I unhaul them. If it's not happening, it's not happening. But I did love the first one so much. So I do want to give it one last good final chance because I just ate it right up. So these are the last 4. And then I would also really like to look into Elle Kennedy's other works, but these are obviously priority. Next we have We'll Prescribe You a Cat. Now this is 4 short stories about a cafe that is only revealed to the people that need it most, the people that are really down, really depressed, really having a hard time. And there, in this cafe, they prescribe you a cat to fix all your problems. Jordan actually got me this book and I have been just really looking forward to it. I think it's so cute. It sounds adorable. And it's also translated fiction, which has been something I've really been trying to prioritize in 2025. So I really want to continue prioritizing it in 2026. I think it can be so limiting if you're not reading translated fiction because it's good to learn about other parts of the world, learn more about their culture, learn more about what's important to them, which can be so easily told through fiction. Even though people don't think it can be, I definitely think it can. So again, just 4 little short stories in this book. It sounds just so perfect. I'm a big cat lover. If you didn't know, I cannot wait to get to this one. The final book we will be prioritizing in 2026 is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I can't believe I still haven't picked this up, truthfully. But we follow a tennis player who has worked very, very hard throughout her life to get a record number of titles. And after her retirement, that record is challenged. So she decides to come out of retirement. If there's one thing about me, it's like I love reading about baddie women. You know what I mean? Taylor Jenkins Reid just does that so well. She did it in Atmosphere. She did it in Seven Husbands. I've read, I think, like 90% of her books. I think there's 1 or 2 that I haven't written, and she's written 11 or 12. Those numbers are like just a little bit off, I think, but it's somewhere around there. I love anything she writes, truly. I already know what video I'm going to be reading this book for. I cannot wait to pick it up. Her writing is just so good. And then reading about strong women is just my favorite thing to do ever. Listen, I'm not even going to try to hold all these books up at once because it would just be a mess. But we had quite an array of books on this list for 2026. And again, these are just books that I'm very, very prioritizing. Obviously, I plan to read other things, and I do plan to read new releases. I won't lie, but a big part of this new year for me is trying to downsize what I own and really focus on reading what I already have and not over consuming and not having a TBR that is like over 100 books long. But I hope you enjoyed. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. I'm very intrigued to know and have other people's opinions. And also, let me know what you plan on reading in 2026. Wishing you a happy new year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.